Hey guys, it's Matt here from Henry Schein, just doing a quick video showing you the 3D printer softwares that we've got. So one of them being obviously Preform, another one being Asiga Composer, and I will show you 3D Sprint. However, my license has just expired, so I'm just waiting on a link to get a new license, but I just wanted to try and get this done today before the digital conference so I can get it off to you. So Preform, so this is the Form 2. SLA printer, so larger build platform, so you can print slightly more on the Form 2 or soon to be Form 3 obviously. However, it's slower, so because it's a laser, each layer gets painted on with a laser point. So this is the size of our build platform here, and like the other 3D printer softwares, you can grab whatever it is that you wanted to bring in. So let's just, what shall I bring in? Splint design. So there's a splint design. So you can, within here, you can mirror, duplicate, replace. Let's just go duplicate. We're going to print 6 splints. So to orientate each one, we're going to do this. So you can see I could do more than 6 splints on here obviously, but I'm trying to give you a gauge of how much time this is going to take. On each printer. And then on each one, you can click on it and you can come over here, orientation, supports. I'm just going to auto-generate all these supports today just to show you the software, the basics of it. So you can edit supports as well if you wanted to. So after you've put the supports on, now obviously on this one, I'd advise not having support sitting on the fitting surface. So ideally what you want to try and do when you are printing is have this orientated more something like that. I think in terms of orientating, obviously you can orientate in so many different ways, and the orientation will also affect the accuracy of the print and also affect the time that it takes to print. So the more layers that a printer has to do, the longer it's going to take to print. So this is going to take a lot longer to print than, say, if I had to lay them all down flat. So now you can see we've got 6 splints on here. So you can, within here as well, once you're happy with it, now if there's any areas on here that are going to be lacking support, they're going to show you a little red marker. So if I were to click on this, I'll go edit supports. So see our little points here? So if I were to untick a couple and then hit apply, you'll notice that as we go in towards print, that will start to show red areas. And clearly not yet on this one. Let's try that again. There we go. So if you don't have enough supports, you start to get these red areas here, so the software will let you know if you need extra supports over a certain area. So you can click on as many times. If you wanted to hover over a point that you've already got on there, there we go, and apply. Alright, now we could print that out if you wanted to. If, let's say, something like this. That one could most probably be removed if we wanted to, but you can, and you do have the option to as well. Slice through. So by using the slice through tool, you can check each layer as it's getting printed, so you can see just where the splint starts to come into play. So you want to make sure at this point where it starts to print, it's got a support. So all 3D printed softwares work like this, and then you can come up, and essentially what you don't want is you don't want to have points that are called islands. So that's where if you can see something starting to print but it doesn't have a support, then obviously that's just going to fail that particular print. So on this one we're all good, happy days. So if that would be the case, you could choose your printer and you can just go down here to print. Hit upload job, and then it uploads into the 3D printer. So that is the Preform software. As I said, the benefits to Form 2 are price. The printer itself is slow because, as I mentioned, it's a laser. The Form 3 is not that much faster than the Form 2. I believe from what they say it's slightly more accurate, and it just comes with a slightly dearer price tag as well. So once that's now done, you can send to print and print that off. Let's not save. So I'll show you the Sega software. So Sega software is pretty similar. So we can just go new. Then here we'll choose our printer, which is your Sega Max. You can choose all different resins in here. So the benefit of the Sega is it's open. So you can see how I've added in Nextent resins. You can add in, by coming in here, you can import in different resins from different companies. So you just add in certain resins in here. So you can see how easy it is to do. So for us today, I'm just going to choose this, the model. Now, once again, the software is similar to Preform. So you can grab a splint design, and you can see how I just brought it in there. Units, quantity, so I'm just going to go 6 and open. Now the Sega software is slightly different. So see how we highlight it and we can move, highlight it and move. So when you are looking at a splint within a Sega, it's going to be pink until it's in a position where it can print, and then it's going to turn yellow. So each position that you grab this on, it's going to allow you to rotate up. So see how once it's highlighted, I can move it around. If I right click, hold it down, it's going to start to rotate. So depending on what view that I get this at, it's going to depend on how this rotates. So you can see how we're on Z axis right now. You can also use the buttons X, Y, Z to rotate and flip this around. So if I hit X now, and I want the Y axis. So something like that. Now what I'm going to do, I'm just going to copy this. So let's just go clone. Clone. there's I want to keep it even with the Nextent, so we'll do 6. Now from here, you can click on here and you can start to build supports, generate supports. So you can play around with the settings a little bit more on the Asiga because it's a open printer. They want to try and make it so that you can play around as much as you can. Comes with its pros and cons. If you don't know what you're doing, obviously it's going to give you issues. But essentially, so this is Asiga now, just creating all the supports, and we can go close. So once this is pretty much all good to print, this up here will give us a build time. So it will calculate a build time. So right now it's saying 1 hour 43 minutes to print those 4 splints. Within their software, it can also give you a gauge of what each splint is going to cost you in material cost, depending on the price that you put this in for. So from there, literally you just hit build, start the build. You can choose estimated build time here. You can go next. There's a fast print mode or a slow print mode. I'm sure most people are hitting the fast print mode. And then we can go next, and you can call it a build name, and then that's how it's going to start to print out. So that's your Asiga software. So the Asiga is a DLP rather than the Formlabs being the SLA. So the DLP is, rather than a little laser going around and painting each level, so the DLP is a projection. So what happens on a DLP? You've got a projector, a pixelated projector that shoots up, burns in one layer, and then the build platform goes up and down, and then it does the next. So just overall, you'll find that DLP printers are a lot faster than SLA printers. And you can see, you can scroll through again and see if you can see any islands anywhere. If you can't see any islands, then you're okay, and we're good to print. Alright, so that is the Asiga software. And as I mentioned, the good thing about Asiga is it's totally open. So you can jump on the Asiga website. So, and you can see it's got over 350 materials approved that Asiga have tested and have got the right INI files to be able to produce a good print. Australian made, lifetime technical support with Asiga here in Australia, and really good company to deal with. So if you did want to, you can create an account, log in, and then that's where you can start to receive all your information there. So lucky last is 3D Sprint. So 3D Sprint is the same as the Asiga. However, it's slightly faster due to the membrane that's on the build platform. So the membrane has got a microscopic film of air in between the resin and the actual membrane. So what that does is every single time a printer prints a layer, it creates a suction because it's basically bonding to the membrane of the resin tray. So it's pulling it up, and then the resin will start to settle back in again, and then it will go down, print the new layer, go up, resin will flow back in, down. So that's how a printer works. So because with the Nextent, because it has that that micro layer of air, it's not getting the suction. So what it's doing is it's not having to come up as far, and it can just do smaller movements and print faster. So generally, the Nextent's the fastest DLP printer that we have, and it's most probably the fastest DLP printer at this point in time for dental markets around the world. So now Asiga, I will say as well, that may not be quite as fast as the Nextent printer, but the thing that Asiga has that's a big benefit to them is they've got 4 sensors on the bottom of the build tray. So what happens is, so with this Nextent, it's just a timed thing when it goes up and down, up and down, up and down. So if you've got factors in relation to different resins, now obviously they've done a calculation and worked out exactly the time that it needs to go up and down for certain resins, and it's a closed system the Nexstent as well, so you can't start using other people's resins. So with Sega, because it's fully open and you can use all these other different resins, what they've done is rather than just have a timed sequence to go up and down, well, they've got 4 sensors that measure the pressure, so they know that once the build platform's gone up and the resin's all flowed back in and it's stabilized, so that the software basically off those 4 sensors knows the resin's stabilized, it's all even, and then it does the next layer again. Because what happens is if you're printing fast and you're using someone else's resin and you don't know the flow rate of that resin, the viscosity, then obviously you can start to have misprints because the resin doesn't get a chance to flow all the way back flat again for you to print the next layer. So that's the benefit that a Sega have, which allows them to be a truly open 3D printer. By having that, obviously it's a lot more structured, so you know if you're going to have a misprint because it's going to let you know. The software knows, and it's not going to print a new layer until it knows that the resin's in there and you're not going to have an issue. So with the Nexstent, unfortunately, because my license has run out on this one, it's a very similar software to the Form 2. So literally you can just grab your item. Where's my splint gone? There we go. So you can grab it, drop it in. You'd use transform, you click on it, and then you start to rotate it around. Just like, actually it's near identical to the software for Formlabs. But to give you an idea in terms of time, so those that Formlab would most probably take about 12 hours to print those 6 splints. Maybe less. It might take maybe 6 to 12. Let's call it. On this, to print off these, I'm sure it's going to take around about an hour or less to print off those 6 splints. So it's a lot faster, obviously, as I mentioned, but the big benefit of all of them, because it can be seen as a good or a bad thing, because this is a closed system and it can only use their resins, you know everything's structured and you know everything's in place and there's less variables. So they've worked out all the hard work and they've got a lot of resin choices to choose from. So that's a good thing about you know, the Nexstent printer. Pricing on resins are all pretty similar. I think on average you'll most probably pay a little bit more for the resins on the Formlabs, because obviously the printer's cheaper, so they're making their money on the resin. Nexstent are a little bit like that as well, so they're making the money on the resin, not so much the printer. Sega, they've started to produce their own resins now, so they realise that, well, the money's in the resins, not in the printer. So and they've got their own resins, and then also, as I mentioned and I showed you on their website, there's multiple different full mind blank. Tragic. Anyhow, so that's all 3 softwares for you right now. And then if you do need to know any more questions, feel free to give me a call. Pardon me. And then we can go from there.